Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all excellent. We have heard some tones with the Boss Katana 100 watt Mark II head, but I want to showcase three things that I didn't even realize this thing could do when I first unboxed it and gave it a rip. We're going to have a look at this as a standalone power amp with a modeler. We're going to explore how you could get into IR loading with this, and we'll also hear the built-in speaker mic'd up, which I think is a super cool little feature that is very handy in a recording setting. So let's go. The Katana Mark II has a dedicated power amp input, so I thought it might be cool to compare it to my go-to solid-state power amp when I'm using a modeler, the Matrix GT800 Effects. I've got my Axe Effects hooked up at the moment, and I've got my Custom 24 in Drop D, so I want to test it out with some Drop D chuggy kind of stuff, because I find that is the place where most solid-state power amps tend to fall apart when pushed. I've got the Katana on the 100 watt mode cranked all the way up, and we're going to hear that first. I'm going to play, and I'm actually going to record this as a loop in the Axe Effects, and then we'll hear it through the Matrix GT800 Effects and listen out for any differences. Let's go. What I find really interesting there is that taking a look at the waveforms, the waveform on the Katana is actually bigger. It's actually a little bit louder running into this particular cabinet. What I'm going to do is play those two clips back to back. Again, really listen out for the low end and for the top end clarity in there. And I think it gives you a good indication of where the Katana sits as a standalone power amp for your modeler. So if you're like me and you just like to unbox gear and plug straight in and not read the manual and see what you can figure out, I didn't even realize there's a built-in speaker into the head version of the Katana Mark II. I think it's a little 5-inch speaker in here. So while I was setting everything up, I didn't even have a cabinet plugged in. I was like, where's that sound coming from? So you can use this as a standalone little practice amp, which is great. And to give you an idea of just how loud this can get, I am going to play this. It's not going to sound fantastic because you're just going to hear through my vocal mic, but I'll play and I'll just keep talking. This is way louder than I can talk. As you can see, I'm playing. I have to shout. Very nice indeed. But real hidden little gem is if you mic this thing up, it sounds killer. Check this. Kind of the way people would use those little pig nose practice amps. So that's kind of like a hidden gem there, is actually miking up this little built-in speaker, and it sort of adds to the flexibility of this unit. I think it's like, you know, if you're using a modeler live, you can use this as your power amp, and it's also your backup, because if your modeler goes down, you can just plug straight into the Katana. And then if you need a practice amp, especially if you're on the road and you're warming up backstage, or, you know, if you live in an apartment or something like that, and you need to be able to scale things down, just don't connect a cabinet to the head version and you've got yourself a little practice amp in there. To round things out, there's a little trick you can do with the line out and the stereo expand. To start off with, there is a baked in cabinet sim on the line out by default. You can't select your own IR, but I think it sounds okay. But you can do a little trick with the stereo expand, the switch on the back. If you click that on, you'll get a raw kind of output of the amp with no speaker sim. I apologize about that, but if we go to our DAW and enable a cabinet sim, now you've got the entire world of IRs available in there. I've got an IR that I shot of the actual cab that I was recording those earlier clips with. It sounds like this. Of course, you can use that stereo expand with 2 katanas and cabinets and get a cheap stereo rig, but I kind of like this feature if you want to get into some recording and you don't want to have to use outboard software or anything. You kind of want to use this like a desktop head, and then in post-production in your DAW you can add in whatever impulse you like. So that's the third little morsel that we looked at that I think is really hip with the Katana. If you've seen my other videos, you've heard some of the tones, the effects, and the options that are available on the Katana. I think for the money, based on that alone, it's really hard to beat, but the fact that you can use it as a really loud power amp with your modeler with a real guitar cab, and the fact that it's also going to double up as not just a power amp, but as a very viable backup in case your modeler was to go down at a gig or anything like that, really enhances it. The little IR loading trick with the stereo expander is very nice indeed. And the built-in speaker and miking that up and getting character tones out of that might be my favorite feature out of the entire amplifier. You know, just having an amplifier with a 5-inch speaker is kind of a novelty, and in a studio setting, I can see that being very, very handy. As always, if you have any comments about the video, please let me know. Any questions, anything you'd like to see in the future from the channel, I would love to hear from you guys. Until next time, stay excellent, be good to one another, and I'll see you next time.